welcome to this episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Odd with your hosts, Mark and Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hello there.
Right, so this is a Daisy reading off of Hellboy, was it?
Yeah, it's
Hellboy,
Hellboy.
Hellboy. And so this was your choice. So you're tell everyone what you
Hmm.
picked reading off
So I
Hellboy.
have picked. We had quite there was quite a lot of films to pick from. Even if you just went with Ron Perlman and John Hurt.
Yeah.
So I just sort of scanned through and I realized I've never seen the. I spotted this film in the list. I was like, I've never seen that, but I heard it's awful, like really bad.
Okay, so you picked Island of Dr Moreau,
Yeah, I
1980.
picked Island of Dr
A
Moreau.
film I've seen a couple of times, but it's been
Yeah.
a little while since I last saw it, so I
Hmm.
was happy to rewatch. Because since I last watched it, I learned more about the troubled history it went through, which
Yeah.
we'll kind of bring in, but maybe more towards the end, because I'd
Yeah.
rather just talk about the film as it is first.
Hmm.
Um, an interesting film because it's got lots of parody stroke references in other things in popular culture, right? As
Yeah.
well, weirdly. I don't think we have to. We will get into spoilers, but it is 30 years old, right? So I think it's going to
Yeah.
be spoiled from the beginning, but I'm not sure it matters that much, to be honest. What did you think of it?
It was okay. It was mostly just very strange and
Yeah.
not very entertaining.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I really enjoyed this watch,
Yeah.
and I didn't really enjoy it the first few times.
Okay.
I don't know what my expectations were so low
Hmm.
that I really enjoyed it. I really certainly enjoyed the first half more than the second. Basically,
Yeah.
all the stuff before Marlon Brando turns up, I really liked. I mean, it felt properly filmic and cinematic.
Yeah.
David Thewlis was really good. He's good in movies, right?
Yeah.
And I just liked that bit, that stuff. In fact, did like the whole film. I think I
Hmm.
liked it more than you, but it's taken me possibly three watches now to get to the point where I'm
Okay.
like, yeah, I really like this. This is good. But yeah, it's mad.
Yeah.
It's kind of nightmare fuel for the second half,
Oh
isn't it?
yeah.
Really. Um, Now, have you seen Island of Lost Souls, the 32 version?
No, I have not.
Okay, that is a really good film. That is a really good film.
Hmm.
But there was also a 77, I think it was a TV film with Burt Lancaster, which was a bit tame. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Um, this at least brings the crazy, which
Yeah.
is always kind of fun. Um, okay, so you thought it was okay,
Yeah.
sort of middling, middling
Middling
for you.
at best, really.
Yeah, this definitely went up a couple of points for me. Sorry,
Okay.
maybe one point.
Middling's probably a bad way to frame it. It's a case of like there was some really good elements, but the troughs were so bad that the peaks got nullified completely.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so
And there's reasons for that.
yeah,
Yeah. I what? All right. What? Should we talk about what you didn't like first? How about that?
okay. I didn't really understand what was on with Val Kilmer's character. I don't understand what he wanted, what he was getting out of it, nor what his end goal was.
Yeah, I agree with that. I
Yeah,
agree. He's a kind of he's almost like
it's just kind of a mad rogue element
he's
in him.
almost like Iago in Othello, right? In that he's
Okay.
a troublemaker, right? He's a trouble.
Yeah,
He's not really helping things at all with what he's doing.
yeah,
He's kind of there to help Moreau, but you can tell he's sick of it all.
yeah.
And you wonder why he's bothered staying.
And yeah, Moreau and him clearly do not like each other in any
Yeah,
capacity.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
don't like each other. He's drugging up Moreau's creations, and he is both hates them and is seemingly having sex with some of them.
Yeah,
At at one point,
yeah.
and yeah, it's just kind of confusing. And then towards the latter half of the film, he starts impersonating Moreau, and
Yeah,
it's like
it's gone insane. I read
yeah,
it that way. I think he was just a man with nothing to lose and doesn't care anymore. I feel like
yeah,
he's that guy. Yeah, that is. I agree. It kind of hard to get a handle on that character, and there isn't one to get, maybe even, right?
Yeah.
Um, I let's think about what I didn't like. I the plot was a nonsense in the second half. It really
Yeah.
didn't pan the way it should have. Moreau should have that Moreau stuff should have been at the end, not
Yeah.
two
Like,
thirds or a half the way through.
yeah, that was,
Him going out of the plot made it really weird. Um,
yeah.
I did like no, we'll talk about what we liked in a minute. What
Mm.
else didn't I like? Yeah, it was a mess at the
Yeah.
end.
I didn't
Um,
like how some of it seemed to be trying to be like period accurate to the book, but like the entire way David Thewlis acts is like some late 19th century guy.
yeah, but it's set in
But it's set
contemporary, isn't
in,
it?
yeah, it's set in the 90s.
Because they're
So,
talking about the anti-vivisection, drove him away and all this kind of
yeah.
stuff. That's kind of mentioned. Okay, so really, I agree with you about Val Kilmer, but it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
And I think Val Kilmer delivered whatever he was trying to deliver in that character. I think he did a good job with that. However, it's like as a character, it's like what's this guy about, right?
Yeah.
Um, let's talk. Do you mind if I talk about what I liked,
Yeah,
and then
go
we'll
ahead.
go into what you like? The creature design was really good.
Yeah, that's kind of the main thing from what I liked as well. Stan Winston
Yeah,
knocking it
really,
out of the park.
really good. I really thought Hewlis was
Mm.
really good in this. And Feruza, I'm not sure if you say it that way, Feruza Bulk.
Yeah.
Um, she was excellent as this
Yeah.
torn creature that she was she felt like the only one that actually wanted to be human. The
Yeah.
rest of them were kind of forced into it. Um, but so I thought her role, what she did was really good.
Yeah.
Um, and it just felt quite a good piece of cinema in terms of how it looked. I
Mm.
just thought that the film stock or whatever they used was really clear and it looked good on the screen. It
Mm.
felt like it was a proper filmmaker's film. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so there was lots I liked. I'm not
Yeah.
sure how I feel about Marlon Brando because it's such an odd performance, right?
Yeah.
Um, and was he supposed to be English? I was trying to
I
work
could
out
not tell.
because his
Like I
accent sounded almost like he was European, French or German, but had perfected a really solid English accent. And that's how he
yeah.
sounded, right? Not an American doing an English accent. It sounded like a Frenchman or a German with a really good English accent. That's kind of how he sounded. And
Mm.
Moreau is a Frenchman, so maybe that's it. It doesn't
Yeah.
actually go into that, right? Um, and I also quite like some of the other creature performances. I like oh, what's his name?
Ron Perlman is the lawman,
The lawman.
lawmaker.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
And also I liked Tamara. Um, I'll never get his name right. Let me.
Oh, Temuera
Tamara
Morrison.
Morrison. Yes,
Yeah.
as Azello,
Yeah.
the faithful half dog, half human, right?
Yeah.
Um, um, but so I thought he was pretty good. But you know what? I kind of liked. I like the creature design made it really work well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there was one terrible. I've just remembered one really bad bit actually. There was
Oh,
like
is it the Leopard Man CG? Because I actually took
no,
I
no.
started this film making notes, and by about the halfway point I gave up. One of the things I did put is the terrible CGI Leopard Man.
No, I didn't mind that. No, the bit I thought was really stupid was the bit where not Montgomery, sorry, Douglas tries to escape the first time, and these weird
Oh
rats
yeah, he bumps into the rats and then never brought up again.
again, and that was just stupid.
Yeah.
It was incongruous with the rest of the film, really.
Yeah.
And it looked stupid. That bit was just they could have just cut that scene. It wouldn't have mattered. Or
Yeah.
had him and the boat hadn't worked. Or he'd have encountered some of the real creatures, right?
Yeah.
Anything other than that. I also don't know what on earth to make of the little homunculus guy, uh,
Yeah.
Eva.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack with that one.
Yeah, now that has a massive cultural reference, which we'll come to, which
Yeah.
will. as well, in a few ways. um, so yeah, I mean, it wasn't boring, was it?
No, I can
It
certainly
definitely
say it
was
was not boring.
boring. Um,
Baffling,
yeah,
yes, but
I thought what got me. The thing is, I was watching it. Even the opening credits were kind of startling. They were like, "This is meant to be kind of shocking, shock you to your senses before you even start watching."
yeah,
But it's a weird to see, all that sort of really fast music and
the eye
fast
imagery,
frames.
yeah,
Yeah, there was like eyes and cells and teeth and fangs and quick cuts. It was basically those flash frames. It was a set of flash frames, wasn't it, through the whole
yeah,
credit sequence. And then it starts, and this is some sort of morality. This is setting up something with old Douglas on a boat with two soldiers, I think, who start fighting over the last water.
yeah,
And they basically in this little rubber thing, and they have a knife fight, and then they both fall in the
yeah,
water. Um, and he said it's he has a monologue over the top while this is all happening, isn't it? They started to act like beasts and were fighting like that.
yeah,
So okay, this is setting us up for what's to come, right? Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
But then he kind of is delirious because of probably lack of water and being out in the sun, and he can opens his eyes a bit, and there's the sail of a boat above him. Um,
yeah.
and the next
This
thing
also kind
is
of threw me off because it's like it's like a Regency era sailing ship.
sailing ship, yes,
Like
which
it wouldn't look out of
still,
place in Pirates of the Caribbean.
yeah, but those are still around. It's a yacht, a luxury yacht,
Yeah,
maybe. But he wakes up with this Val Kilmer sort of treating him. Basically, got
yeah,
an intravenous on him, and he says, "Are you a doctor?" And even then, Val Kilmer's character is hard to read because he goes,
yeah,
I'm more like a vet."
yeah,
And he suggests he comes back to the island. And it feels like he almost sees Douglas as a way of stirring the pot
yeah,
in
yeah,
many ways. And he does things he really shouldn't have been doing
yeah,
almost at the beginning. Like he's got all them caged rabbits. And
yeah.
I think
And he keeps
Douglas is
like,
like, "Oh, I had." Does he say something like, "I used to have a pet
yeah, I had
rabbit,"
one as a child,
and he holds
and
the rabbit up so he can kiss it, and then he immediately turns
just
around and
cracks
breaks
its
its
neck.
neck. And
Yeah,
like Douglas, huh? And he says, "We don't have meat on the island, but we'll make an exception for you." Which is the precipitator of the first set of issues, isn't it? Because
yeah,
these Moreau is trying to keep these creations of his, these mutant animal human hybrids,
as
um,
vegetarian.
vegetarian because the meat will stir up things, right?
Yeah,
Um, so yes, so he is taken to the house, and Montgomery basically warns him to don't leave
yeah.
this house,
Don't leave the
whatever you do.
compound.
Don't
So
leave the compound.
yeah,
And he immediately starts wandering around, and there's this girl, Firuza Balk, just
yeah,
dancing to music and like really into it with her eyes shut. And he just goes and looks at her. But I didn't realize this at the beginning of the scene. Montgomery's just sitting watching all this,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And you don't, and you don't know that until there's a cut of him sticking a flower in his mouth or something.
yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
really quite strange.
It's really strange. Um, but Firuza Bolt doesn't realize she's being watched until she opens her eyes and sees him, and then she startled, and he's obviously immediately taken with her because she's very elegant, isn't she?
Yeah,
She's quite a striking woman, Firuza Bolt, and it works in this character's she appears human. There's nothing
yeah,
different about her apart from maybe slightly sharp teeth initially, right?
yeah.
Um,
Well,
uh,
this is actually kind of one of the a downside. It's like they keep saying about how animalistic she's becoming, but she never
really
looks at all
does.
like an
Her
animal.
teeth get a bit
Like, oh, she
sharper,
gets kind of sharper teeth, and
and she never
that's it.
acts like an animal either. Really, she
No,
stays human to the end. Really.
yeah.
Um,
The cat from Red Dwarf is more convincing as a cat person.
yeah. Now I'm wondering. I was trying to work out: is she really his daughter, and he's kind of fusing cat stuff onto her? Is that what's
Maybe.
going on? Because she doesn't appear to be an animal become human. She appears to be a human becoming animal. Right?
Hmm.
There's a touch of that. Uh, and there's various hybrids, all sorts of weird and wonderful hybrids. There's like a baboon human,
Yeah,
hyena
it's
swine is a hyena pig human, right?
yeah.
Um, and the
There's what's
leopard
his name? That's
man.
yeah, the weird CG leopard man. Uh, did I noted down a lot of like weird things that I noticed. Val Kilmer's wearing four watches during this
I
entire
didn't
film.
notice that. I didn't
It's
notice.
like early on, he's like when he's like injecting stuff into David Thewlis. So it's like he has a watch on both wrists, and then it's like no, he has two watches
She's
on
on both
both
wrists.
wrists.
Yeah.
What?
Affectation, right?
Yeah,
Affectation. Yeah.
yeah.
Where are we?
While he's skulking around, he finds the lab that they're
Oh
doing this.
God, yeah. Wow, what
Yeah, quite a
reminded me
visceral scene.
yeah, what all those specimens in jars. It reminded me a bit of
Yeah,
Alien Resurrection, right? Where
it.
Ripley goes
Yeah,
into the lab. It was kind
it
of
was
reminiscent
very.
of that.
Well, I was thinking of like Jurassic Park. Like that
So at
was
this
really
point,
struck
I
me.
felt this was a solid, good film.
Yeah,
Ignoring maybe Kilmer's character, which could have been better explored. You know, if
yeah,
this had become a better film, that would have possibly made sense in another film. Does that make sense?
yeah.
So up to this point, for me, this is still a really good film.
Okay.
However, he goes into the lab as you're saying, like, oh man, and then he finds something
The weird animal person giving birth
and being
scene.
treated by surgeons who are animal people as
Yeah,
well. Um, and it freaks him right out. He does a runner, right?
yeah.
Um, so this weird, and they got llamas in cages as well.
Yeah, the Wikipedia says that that's supposed to be a llama woman, but
I didn't see
no,
that.
just kind of looks like an animal.
Yeah, didn't
No,
say llama. I didn't see a llama there, apart from the ones in the cages, right?
yeah, but they've got a lot of animals in cages, so it's kind of moot there. But yeah, so he runs away, and Fariza Balak finds him
Yeah, our
in the
character's name's
woods.
Isa. Isa.
Yeah,
Isa.
Asia.
And she then leads him into like what looks like a plane, World War II plane crash site.
Yeah,
Um,
I think at some point they may have been going for like some sort of more sci-fi, like oh, there was some sort of secret thing that crashed
yeah,
because it's like a plane that's got animal motifs all over it,
yeah. It's
but
very
they never really address that, and
so maybe
it
it's the
doesn't
one
look.
Moreau came in. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
So basically, she takes him to this place, and then he starts seeing all these different animal human hybrid types, like
Hmm.
half, you know, wolf, half man, all sorts of different ones, baboon ones. Um, and is this where we see the Sayer of the Law? Is that later? I'm trying to remember.
Okay, so she leads him round the village, and then they go down into a building where the Sayer of the Law is.
And he's repeating the sort of famous phrases from the book, right?
Yeah,
Quite strong. These words, aren't they? It's
yeah.
quite
Will not
strong.
sup from the river, and well,
We're two leg, you know, basically we walk on two legs. That is the law. And they keep saying a certain sentence, that is the law.
yeah,
And it is kind of really, it kind of made me think of Animal Farm, you know?
yeah,
In some
yeah.
ways.
It
No,
would be
Animal
one of
Farm
those films.
did was written quite a bit later than
Yeah,
just to talk about the book actually very briefly.
yeah. I've not
Um,
actually read the book, so
yeah, it's quite a good read.
mm,
I mean, all of H.G. Wells's novels are good, right?
yeah,
But it came out in 1896, caused outrage.
I can imagine.
The critics said it was repulsive, and people were picketing, and it was kind of outborn from like evolution was a relatively new thing.
Mm,
Um, Anti-vivisection movement was underway, all that sort of stuff,
yeah,
and all of that fed H.G. Wells's imagination into the
yeah,
story. But then there was public outrage, which made it his most successful novel to date when it was
yeah,
published. Because of the outrage, people wanted to read it, right?
yeah.
It's
Is it
standard.
still like a genetic thing that he's done to the
No,
animals,
no,
or
it's
is it like, oh,
surgery.
he's bred? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you remember they didn't under genetics was not a thing in
Yeah.
1896. They had some ideas. People knew
Oh
that
yeah. I thought it
children
might
look
just
like
be
their
like a
parents and stuff like that.
yeah. I thought it
But
might
no.
just be one of those sci-fi things where it's like he accidentally got it right, sort of thing.
I don't think so. It's been
But
a long time since I've read it, but it is
yeah.
worth reading. Like I say, he's got 6 or 7 novels, I think, the famous ones anyway, and they're all a good read, and they're all fairly short as well.
Okay.
I mean, it's probably most famous War of the Worlds, I imagine, but
Yeah.
Island of Dr Moreau is definitely worth a read, and referenced in all sorts of ways, which we'll come to a bit later. Um, so. So there he meets the lawgiver, and then this is where they're all. Is this where they all go outside and it's daylight?
And it's daylight and
Was it the
Moreau's
next day?
weird little
Um,
Pokemobile rolls up.
Rolls up, and he Moreau just looks weird. He's wearing sunglasses and he's covered in like white sunblock,
Yeah, it's
right?
like but it doesn't look like he's wearing sunblock. It looks
It
like he's
just
kind
like
of chalked himself
it
up.
looks like he's an albino. Or, well, no, yeah, chalked up. It's so white,
Yeah.
but it's also got a little weird companion
Yeah,
as
his
well.
homunculus. Uh,
Um, which appears, as far as I can tell, the rest of them seem to be from living creatures, but the homunculus appears to be grown from cells, I
yeah,
would say, because it's so different from the rest of them, right? And it
yeah,
did back. There is one bit where I laughed sort of inadvertently, but Pulis kind of kicks off and he says, "What are these? What is that?" And he
yeah.
points at it.
And it kind of flinches and gets back in its chair.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that did make me laugh. So yeah, essentially, also we find out Moreau has a device to cause pain.
yeah,
Um,
he
uh,
uses it to kind of reinforce this image of him as God.
yeah, I have to say,
Um,
when I first saw this, I thought it was some sort of sound wave device because only some of them flinched. Um, so I
yeah,
thought, is it the animals that could hear that? But no, he's
no,
implanted under the skin an electrical device that causes pain, right?
yeah,
Um, so now, then he eats with. They sit down for a meal, and he starts talking about how he's introducing human DNA into animals, trying to bring up the perfect being. So he's a kind of Frankensteinian character, isn't
yeah,
he? And basically, he says, "I want to create something that's incapable of harm." It's just, and he says, "There, my experiments are imperfect, but he's getting close." He says something like, "I'm closer
yeah.
than you
I'm
could
getting
ever
closer to
guess."
to getting it right. He's trying. He they keeps referring about to he's trying to make God. That's like, is he?
Yeah. And then there's a bit where the food comes out and the dog man um takes the lid off the food and there's a rabbit.
Yeah,
Moreau's immediately incensed and he
yeah,
sort of says, "Take that away." He's terrified of meat being around because
yeah,
he
because it'll
knows
burn him
perhaps
up.
what it'll do.
So
Um, and I think one of the servants licks his fingers and goes, "No, go wash your hands, dispose of that, wash your hands.
yeah,
This is forbidden." Um, but then then the dog man says, "But I've found a rabbit also killed
mm.
without a head." And Moreau's like, "Who did that?" And he says, it's the
It's called
leopard
like
guy,
it's
isn't
the
it?
leopard. It's the weird CG leopard
Lo
man.
Mai is the character,
Yeah,
played by Mark Dacascos, who's in a lot of martial arts films. He was in one of the John Wick films as a John Wick fanboy that had a fight with him.
okay.
But I'll tell you another great film he's in. I'm not sure we've ever covered this. Brotherhood of the Wolf. Do you?
No, I've never seen that one.
Yeah, it's a really good film. Maybe, oh, we'll see. Well, I might pick that up, possibly. We'll see. It's a French film.
Yeah,
It's quite a long film. It's about 2.5 hours, but it is a really interesting film because it's kind of based on a true story,
yeah,
a bit of a true story, maybe an urban legend, not sure. Um,
yeah,
and Moreau's like, "Tomorrow we might be able to entertain you even more, Mister Douglas. Tomorrow we
yeah,
are going to have a trial again." I don't understand. Is Moreau showing off? I couldn't work.
yeah.
What
I
a
don't
weird way of
know.
put. Instead of being sad about it, it's like we might be able to entertain you even more.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's odd. Um, What did you? I mean, Marlon Brando was very odd in this film, right?
Yeah, I mean, from reading a lot about the behind the scenes stuff that was going on,
Yeah,
yeah, he's just kind of. I don't think Marlon Brando was a very like sane person at this point in his
yeah,
life.
he was having problems, wasn't he?
Like, there's a lot of like both personal and physical.
Let's touch on
But
the problems for a bit now. Anyway, we can go. There's
yeah,
more. There'll be more, but essentially, Marlon Brando's own daughter had committed suicide just before
yeah,
shooting. This affected him badly, and often he wouldn't come out for hours. Apparently, he left all these people in all these suits in sweltering heat,
yeah,
standing around for hours waiting for him to come out of his trailer, which is
mm,
bad, isn't it?
yeah,
Imagine wearing that stuff for hours.
yeah,
In addition, Val Kilmer was going through divorce and it reacted very badly to it.
yeah,
Hence his weird behavior, too. In addition, they both grew to hate each other,
yeah,
on set, right, as actors.
yeah,
And that led to pissing contests like, I'm not coming out of my trailer until he's come out of his trailer. And both saying that, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
which meant all these extras were just standing around, director was standing around, and all this, that, and the other.
And
So it was an awful working. Also, Marlon Brando apparently did get kind of obsessed with the sun and wanted that sunblock on. So they integrated it into the
yeah.
script. Uh,
From what I've read, same with the guy that played the homunculus.
yeah.
Apparently, he wasn't going to be in it much. Then Marlon Brando took a shine to him and
Took
kind
a
of
shine to him.
insisted he was.
Absolutely loved. Wanted him in every scene. Wanted him with him all the time. They hung out all the time.
Yeah,
How weird! It's so weird.
yeah,
It's so weird. Um, so a lot of these weird elements were kind of incorporated into the character of Moreau, which I don't think works against the film. It's just odd,
no, it
right?
just doesn't particularly help because of how odd it is.
Yeah. So it's a red flag, isn't it? That its
Yeah,
sanity has maybe departed, right?
yeah,
Both in the actors and the, the characters.
yeah.
Yeah. So they do have a trial.
They kind of
Oh, this
dragged
is
it on.
where Douglas then tries to escape that night because he's like he is
Yeah,
totally freaked out. David Thewlis really sells this well, no
yeah.
overacting, just totally shocked by everything that's going on. He wants to get on a boat, but then the weird little
The rat people,
rat
yeah, the
rat
skink
gremlin
attack them.
things,
Yeah,
just they start scuttling around, running around, which drives him back. So
yeah,
at the trial, he accuses Lomai, who then takes a flying leap at Moreau, but he zaps
yeah. He
his
zaps him with
implant.
the weird little device thing, which he's
Yeah,
hung around his neck as
yeah,
like a
like a
medallion.
medallion. Yeah, it's like a TV remote, a round little TV remote kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um, so the leopard man is just being tasered in effect from the inside, just
mm,
shaking on the floor. But then the dog man, as Zello, just
yeah,
shoots him.
yeah,
And Moreau's like, "Why did you do that?" He says, "You shall not kill. It is the law. I.e., you killed a rabbit, so therefore he must die."
yeah,
And like that's obviously going to create a conflict in all the creatures' mind because the law is you do not kill. But they've just seen one of Moreau's minions kill someone for killing, right?
yeah,
Um, and then they said show him proper respect, and they cremate him.
yeah.
But this like sets up
Hyena pig
hyena swine,
takes it.
um, picks up the bones and finds a weird little device attached to one of the bones, which is the implant.
Mm.
Then he can feel his same implant within his. Is it like in his arm or his
Yeah,
chest? I can't
it's
remember.
his arm from what it looks
Yeah,
like.
and he rips it out himself.
Mm.
Um, but then suspects he will no longer feel pain because
Yeah,
the law is set up to be around the pain, isn't it?
yeah. If you break the
Uh,
law, you feel pain.
yeah.
Uh,
And he starts to pass on that he can no longer feel pain. Now, I wasn't sure at this point whether he was also removing it from others because there's a few times where none of them get affected. But
yeah.
that isn't set up in any scenes, is
They
it?
don't say it specifically, but it
But the
kind
hyena talks about he can remove the pain, right?
yeah,
Um, We also then find out that regular drugging is part of the control mechanisms, and
Yeah.
old Montgomery's
Val
like, "Oh
Kilmer's
yeah, I'll give
being
him a
a
bit of
complete
that. I'll give him a
creep about
yeah, I'll
this.
give him
It's
some
really unpleasant.
mushrooms. Keeps them happy. Do you want some?" And all this kind of stuff. It's like
Yeah.
he's being really obnoxious. But then
And I
Hyena
just,
Swine is standing there, and he says,
yeah,
come get the whatever it is," and he just holds up the device. And
yeah.
as soon as Montgomery sees that, he wakes
He
up.
freaks out.
He
Yeah.
wakes up. He goes and runs and gets his gun. And the creature runs away and he's trying to shoot, but Douglas doesn't understand what's going on, and so he just knocks the gun out. Yeah, just as he fires, so he misses the
Yeah.
shot. And he says he hasn't got an implant. We got to get him back to the what's it.
Yeah.
And there's also talk all through this because, oh yeah, this treatment stops them retrogressing. And Douglas, retrogressing to what? And that's
Yeah.
not really talked about at this point, is
No,
it?
they just keep saying retrogressing. And
Retrogressing.
it seems to be that they turn back into animals.
Yeah. Um,
But yeah.
Douglas is trying to make a radio calls outside, but he's not getting anywhere with that. I feel like Montgomery's blocking it or stopping it happening. So Montgomery kind of wants to keep Moreau's secret. It's almost like he's on a power trip, maybe. I can't
Yeah.
quite work it
It's
out.
really
He
hard to gauge the
hates them,
character.
but he kind of enjoys the power, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, so then Hyena Swine has got a little set of followers.
Yeah.
There's some chatter, isn't there, between Montgomery about hunting and Azazello's kind of keen. He's a dog, right?
Yeah.
He's a hunting dog of some sort. So
Yeah.
he's really keen on going hunting, and he's really happy. And it feels like they're going to give him a rifle as well. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, this feels weird if you should not kill, right?
Yeah.
Um, this also made me think of. Do you remember in Battle for the Planet of the Apes? The apes start to
Yeah.
develop their own law.
Apes
Shall
shall not
not
kill
kill
ape.
ape and all that. It
Yeah.
reminded me of that a bit too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that recital
Yeah.
of the which also has a lawgiver. Funny enough.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah. So the hyena swine has got a little group around him. Um. And Moreau's kind of wandering around the house and he hears something that basically
He
they
hears
break
them
into his
playing
house
piano.
piano badly,
Yeah.
and he comes in and he's all friendly, but you can tell he's on edge, can't you? It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, no,
They
we're
should not be there. So,
says, oh, he goes, yeah. Sometimes you can play piano discordant, and sometimes you can play this. This is by Gershwin. He plays a bit of Rhapsody on Blue, all
yeah.
right, on the piano, trying to charm them a bit while he's trying to head. Has he got the medallion around his neck all the time? I can't
No,
remember. Does he go pick it
the
up?
homunculus gets it for him and
That's right. The
gives him.
homunculus realizes what's going on and scuttles off and gets it, right? So
Yeah.
essentially, as he's talking, he gets to his control and they're saying, without pain, he said, hello. And he says, there's always pain. He presses button, nothing happens,
Yeah.
right? So they attack him. And this is when Moreau leaves,
Yeah.
right? He's gone.
Yeah.
They kill him. They just kind of
Like they kill and eat him.
start
So they're
eating him.
breaking
So
two of his laws.
and hyena swine is repeating. He's basically
Yeah.
saying the anti-law, isn't he? He says
Yeah.
to be on all fours, that is the law. To eat meat, that is the law, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Setting himself up as the new leader, in effect. Douglas does encounter this, and he's got a gun, and he shoots it, and they run off. But he realizes what they've done to Moreau, and there we see his daughter Aisha,
Yeah.
weeping. She is beside herself. In fact, quite a few of them are weeping, right? About what's happened. And is the law over? And the Ron Perlman's character is like, no, he is still with us. It is the law.
Yeah.
Um, so
Kind of a
basically,
neat scene. But yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty good. So then as we see Azazello sort of turn. He
Yeah.
Montgomery is Montgomery sleeping, and he goes in and just takes the gun out
The
of his
film
pocket.
kind of splits here. Like,
Yeah,
so you end up with Douglas and Aisha like basically scrambling to find a way off the island and also a solution to her regressing.
Yeah, she thinks
Uh,
she's regressing, and there's her teeth are a bit sharper.
yeah, it's
Um,
not evident. Like
no,
it's really it doesn't look like anything's happening. But and then we also get Montgomery, who's fully lost it and has dressed himself up as Moreau, including like white
white
white powder
thing. It's written
stuff.
drawn a red upside down cross on his forehead. It's
Yeah,
just weird.
and he starts like going and preaching
Talking
to the
like him,
people.
and he even talks
Yeah,
like him, right? I was a little confused there, but essentially Douglas figures out that there's a way of stopping her regressing by a serum that's been created in a lab based on Douglas's DNA.
yeah,
But it wasn't clear from the film
like
what he was doing in the lab. It was. It's
yeah,
only reading on Wiki that's like, oh, okay. No,
yeah.
actually, they do reference it after. But while he's doing it, it's like,
They say like at the very end of all these scenes, it's kind of Thewlis gives an exposition dump, for lack of a better term.
yeah,
It's like, yeah, I think he just kept me here because he was going to use my DNA to try and sort
yeah.
everything out, but this clearly hasn't worked, or he didn't have time to do it.
Because he does say,
Doesn't
oh
matter
yeah, he
now.
said he was closer than he ever thought. But then he says
Yeah,
that, but it's like, well, how was that changing anything we're watching? I don't really understand your point you're making with that.
yeah,
But yeah, okay. Um, so yeah, so Montgomery's gone mental. There's a bit where he's preaching like he's Moreau to Douglas, who just starts slapping him about, right?
yeah,
Because he's fed up with him. Good
yeah,
scene, strong scene. I know it was
yeah,
weird as hell, but I feel it was well acted, and I feel like
yeah,
there's a bit of reality in there. I think Fulis was probably sick to death of Kilmer's antics. I felt
yeah,
that. I felt like there was a reality in here.
yeah,
And Kilmer was up for being slapped around. Maybe it's, yeah, I've been an arsehole, slap me about. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know. With Azazello,
yeah,
being like the second, basically second in charge with Highness Wine, he says, I can find the things that kill with fire, the guns, right?
yeah,
Um, so the beasts get wilder and wilder. Montgomery's gone full mental and he's like sitting there in a wicker chair, dressed as Moreau, preaching to all these beasts
yeah,
that are kind of got a weird party thing going on around him. It's not
yeah.
really clear what's
And
going
then
on.
Azazello kind of just walks up and shoots him.
Well, he said something to indicate, yeah, I'm dead, and then Azazello just shoots him in the chest. And
Yeah,
Hyenas one then turn up and he grabs the gun as a
yeah.
hyenas one grabs the gun and starts like shooting, putting more
Like,
bullets into the what's it?
yeah, and then he says "good doggy" and shoots Azazello.
Yeah, because it basically doesn't need a second, right?
No,
Um, the beasts kind of split. There's a smaller group which goes off and tries to keep the law with the law. We should have mentioned Ron Perlman's character is like
he's
half
the
goat,
lawkeeper.
half
Yeah,
half,
he's a blind
and
goat
he's
man.
blind. He's a blind goat man.
Yeah,
Basically, he's staying the law, but it's very magisterial, isn't he? Ron Perlman
yeah,
doing this kind of thing. So there's a few that are still trying to be civilized, as it were, or stick to the original law. So there's all that going on. So they got a load of guns now as
yeah,
well. Then they find Douglas and they drag him, and Highness one says, "Tell him I am the master and all this."
yeah. It's just
Um,
like tell them I am the new god.
yeah. So there's all that. Let me think what else.
Yeah, well,
Essentially, it kind of goes a bit
oh,
nuts.
Azazello hangs Asia.
Oh
It's just kind
yes,
of
I
out of
forgot that.
nowhere, and
Yeah.
it basically just makes it feel really character feel really pointless.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's kind of he just hangs her, and it's no.
yeah,
Is it because he's no longer considered herself human, and she
I don't
still
know.
does?
He he says like you were always father's favorite.
Oh yeah, she never got beaten or the
Yeah,
or the
so he
pain.
proceeds to hang her, and it's
Yes,
like
it just hangs her.
uh,
Yeah. Douglas finds her as well, doesn't he? If I remember rightly.
no,
Ascent.
Douglas is in that scene, and
Oh
that's when
yes.
he's getting dragged off. That's
Yeah,
when
yeah,
this is a
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So essentially, all hell breaks loose, and the two factions start fighting.
yeah.
Um,
The main
um,
house gets set on fire. And yeah,
For some
they
reason, Iron Swine just runs into the burning house.
what a hyena swine. So hyena swine's telling Douglas, "Tell them I'm God," and then Douglas goes, "Are you? Well, you're not the only person that ate Moreau."
Yeah,
And he starts like pointing out the other people that ate from Moreau and they've been helping Hyena Swine. So
yeah,
Hyena Swine shoots them.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's why all hell really
It
breaks
breaks
loose. And
loose.
Hyena
And
Swine just
then for
gets the
some reason,
absolute shit kicked out of him.
I did. Yeah, he goes mad with an AK-47. But there's also this bit I didn't understand. There's someone wearing like a beekeeper's helmet, machine gunning everyone, and I didn't even know which character that was. I didn't
Yeah,
understand that bit.
I don't know who it was.
Yeah, it kind of goes mad. Um, so basically, loads of them die.
Yeah.
But there's a few peaceful ones. Douglas decides he wants to leave, and there's one like baboon man who's really sad about him leaving.
Yeah, so
Um,
this Babu man actually shows up fairly early on after he runs away from the lab.
yeah,
As a Simon. He's like he's the only primate person.
yeah, yeah.
So he's and the way that Asio
Oh, they
introduced
say
him is
five
like, oh yeah,
fingers,
he's
five
another
fingers,
five finger.
finger,
He's another
five.
five finger,
So there is a,
and it
as far
gets
as the
him
baboon man's concerned, there's a bond
like this is
between them.
his like kin sort of thing.
Yes, yeah, and him and the goat man. The goat man does survive all this.
Mm.
Accompany Douglas to the beach where the boat is, and Douglas is like, maybe I can find scientists who can help you, and the goat man's
Coman's
like,
like, no more
no,
prey,
no. He
no more
goes,
needles.
what will be will be. You know what we are is what we are. You know,
Mm.
if we become something else, that's what we should be, and all this kind of wise, pretty wise, really.
Yeah,
Um, and old Douglas gets on the boat and sails off.
yeah.
Um, so
And then they do a weird montage where they try to frame it like, oh, and they said the animal inside anyone could come out, but it's using like real world footage of people getting injured. I
yeah,
was like,
now that is a
this
mirror
seems a bit
onto the.
tasteless.
Interestingly, that's kind of a mirror onto the book because if I remember rightly, right at the end, the man who survives, and I can't remember, it's not Douglas. It's got a different name.
Oh,
Um, um, he,
Brendan, I think his name
something
is.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
he actually survives, goes back to London, but he finds all the people around him are actually more animalistic than he remembered, and it troubles him.
Uh,
Like almost like the world's regressing, and he goes and lives in a remote place to keep
yeah.
away from people, which is an
Okay.
interesting end, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't spoil it because it's no story elements. That's like a coda. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, well, an interesting. Got to talk a little about the director here.
Or
Frankenheimer is credit.
directors,
Yeah,
technically.
yeah. Frankenheimer is the credit director, but actually, this was a project close to the heart of the original director, Richard Stanley, um,
Mm.
who made some excellent films in the early 90s. One called Hardware and a really terrific horror film called Dust Devil,
Yeah.
set in South Africa. Right, a
Okay.
really, really good horror film. This was his pet project. This is one he wanted to make for years, and he got Brando involved early on because there's mirrors to Dr. Moreau and Heart of Darkness, the Joseph
Okay.
Conrad story, which
Yeah.
was kind of a version of it was made with Brando,
Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now, right?
Yeah.
And apparently Brando was always still fascinated with Colonel Kurtz as a character,
Yeah.
which is what got him involved, and he really supported Richard Stanley being the director and so on.
Yeah.
However, the studio would not stop interfering. And essential, all sorts of other people were credited and cast. This feels
Yeah.
a bit like a cursed movie because,
Yeah.
for example,
So
Bruce Willis was cast at one point
yeah.
as either Montgomery or Douglas. I can't remember which, but he was going in unknown to anyone through like divorce things with Demi Moore at the
Yeah.
time, so he was having a troubled
Yeah.
existence too.
I did
It's so weird,
yeah.
right?
I did read that apparently Val Kilmer was originally in the Douglas role.
That's
And
right.
because of his behavior, he got moved to Montgomery because they couldn't just flat out fire him,
Yeah.
even though he wanted to be out of the film.
Now, what I
Uh,
read is he basically says, "I want to do what was effectively 25% of the days I'm contracted for. I only wanted to
Yeah,
do a quarter of the work. So the only way to get around that was move roles. Um,
yeah,
However, I think Thewlis is a great addition, actually,
mm,
because he brings a real serious, he grounds this. And he was brought on by Frankenheimer. So Richard Stanley did start shooting, and there are some bits of his. But then he got kicked off of it, and Frankenheimer came in. He was a much more experienced, seasoned
yeah,
director, right? However, Richard Stanley didn't just scurry off; he hung around, and then basically he got, I think, Stan Winston, or one of Stan Winston's underlings, to put makeup on him, and he does appear in the film, unknown by the
yeah.
director or the studio, as Bulldog Man, which I didn't actually spot,
No,
but
I
it
didn't
was there
spot him
somewhere.
either.
There was loads mentioned here that I didn't spot, like Boar Man I spotted,
Yeah,
Bison Man didn't see that, Fox Lady didn't see that,
no,
yeah, and so on. So he was hanging around. There is a documentary about this that's probably going to be really interesting to watch. I think it came out in like 2015, something like that. I think it's called Lost Souls or something like that.
mm.
Because the original first
The
take of
Island
the
of Lost Souls.
Island of
Yeah,
Lost Souls. Yeah. Here it is, Lost Soul: The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr Moreau. Um, One of the most, basically show it describes how the film became one of the most difficult and troubled productions in Hollywood history. Um,
mm.
so yeah, there's a lot going on. So basically, the Mark Brando and Val Kilmer were either having mental issues or were just being arseholes or some
Yeah,
combo of that. And they did not like each other.
yeah,
And this precipitated this, which I believe probably meant the script was massively rewritten. So Brando went out early
yeah,
and Kilmer's role was lessened, which meant it left a lot of it to Thewlis and the creatures, right?
yeah,
And Fruza Bulk, which is fine as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
yeah.
those bits were kind of interesting, right? Though the story doesn't really work that well,
No,
to be
no, no,
honest.
no.
There's just so many odd things about this film. Let's
Yeah.
talk about the cultural impact for a bit.
Uh, so
Okay, South Park. South Park,
yeah, Doctor
right?
Mephisto and his weird little creature
Is essentially
is
these
is just
characters.
Doctor Moreau and his weird
And
little
weirdly,
creature.
Mephisto does a Marlon Brando impersonation, even though Marlon
Yeah,
Brando wasn't doing a Marlon Brando in the film.
yeah,
But yeah. In addition, we have Austin Powers, Mini Me, is
yeah,
essentially this, right? This homunculus.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's two of them. There's probably more.
Oh, there's
Um,
most certainly more.
yeah, but weird, right? What a
Yeah,
weird film. It's not got enough. I mean, I was trying to figure: is this a good, bad, and odd contender? Not really. I don't think
no,
it's. There's no bits of it that are good enough.
enough to
And the
put.
mix. The thing is, there's a lot of good, but there's just. I don't know. If you take any individual scene, it's like, what the hell's going on here? Right?
Yeah,
There's a lot of that, isn't there?
yeah,
Um, However, I have to say, Tulis was excellent, I think.
yeah.
And for his
It's
bulk.
he. Dealus is putting on a voice during all of this that it kind of sounds like Morgan Freeman. Like
Do you
when I was
think?
watching it, I was just like, is he doing a Morgan Freeman impression?
Really? Did you
Like, because
find
he was
that?
just like, and then I saw the animals all stood there, and it's like, what? Why are you talking like that? It's like because that's not how David Thewlis talks.
Well, he does a bit. I mean, he wasn't really putting on an
Yeah.
accent. He was talking how he usually talks, right?
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I've heard him do other accents in films, and he's in
Yeah.
one film called Naked. It's really good, where I think he's been a Mancunian,
Hmm.
but that's quite close to his
Yeah.
own accent, right? So that's not too bad. Uh,
Also, we didn't really bring it up, but that whole weird massage scene in the middle of it where Marlon Brando has a bucket on his head.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. It's
Uh-huh. It's
and he's
like,
complaining about how hot it is as well. It's like,
yeah.
well, take the bucket off you, head, you idiot. Uh,
Yeah.
I forgot that. That's such a weird hat or whatever it was.
Apparently, again, this is just going by stuff I've read. He did put a bucket on his head and insist on not taking it off. So they just had to film a scene, and then that's why he just has the offhand like, oh yeah, put stuff in the caloric converter. And it's like,
Okay.
it's Bali just put some stuff in the bucket on his head.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, I'm just looking at the early casting. Yeah, what Bruce Willis was going to be Prendick, which became Douglas, right?
okay,
Bruce Willis was cast that, and James Woods was cast as Montgomery,
that'd
um,
been interesting.
which would have been interesting. But you know what? I think this casting's pretty interesting as well, to be
Yeah,
honest. Yeah, it's all really unfortunate.
yeah,
Uh, the whole thing feels like it was doomed. Um, Interestingly, sort of, yeah, Kilmer. I don't know, man. I couldn't work out if it was losing it or just didn't care or what. But he really goes for it with the Moreau impression, doesn't he?
yeah.
He's not half arse in that. Um,
Nah,
so it was an interesting film, and I'm amazed they got what they got. It sounds like this should have been even worse.
yeah,
Um, and I presume they just edited what they got together into something coherent.
yeah.
But like I say, I don't know why there's something about the rewatch. I actually liked it a lot more. I think I really appreciated the good performances and
Okay.
more. Maybe that was it.
Hmm.
And you kind of once you've seen the Brando one and the Kilmer one more than once, it kind of you're used to it, and it
Yeah.
doesn't take you out of the film. So I suspect those take you out of the film a lot. The first
Hmm.
once or twice you watch it, right? But
Yeah.
after that, you don't really care, so you just concentrate on the rest of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, man. Good
Yeah.
choice. I'm glad you picked it though. It's quite an
Yeah. It was a
interesting one.
really strange
Yeah, it
one.
doesn't
You've got a
make
lot of
any of
ways to
our halls
go.
of fame, does it, at all?
No, no,
But
no.
it's kind of
Yeah.
close. It's kind of close. It's kind of edging up there. Um,
Yeah.
for me, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know
Okay,
this is only the second Marlon Brando film I've ever seen?
okay. Well, that sounds like I need to pick a Marlon Brando film,
Yeah.
right?
It was
What
just
a
like, oh yeah,
choice!
he's in this, so I guess, yeah. So,
I've got a lot,
yeah.
got a lot of excellent and weird films I
Yeah.
can pick.
So you got that.
That
You also got Val Kilmer, David Thewlis for Fairuza Balk, and
Yeah,
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 all the
yeah.
others.
I've got a
So,
few. Not Ron Perlman because that's how
nah,
link
that's how
in,
we got
right?
in. So,
Yeah. Anyway, I'll have a think about that. Let's get to rating. Do you want me to rate or do you want to rate?
yeah, you go ahead first.
I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. That's how much I
Really?
liked it. Honestly, I haven't give it more than 3 out of 5 in the last few watches. I checked all the watches I've rated this, and
Mm,
before I had a letterbox account, I saw it once,
mm,
so I wouldn't have thought much of it. Then I watched it again. Last time I watched it, 3 out of 5, but this time it's gone up a whole one, 4 out of 5, which I'm surprised myself with that. But that's how
mm.
much I enjoyed it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I can't rationalize it. I thought it was really good until Brando turned up. Then it just got mad, but it never stopped being good for me. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way.
Okay.
Anyway, back to you.
Okay. So mine's in the negative side of my scale. So
Yeah,
I do consider this a bad film,
yeah.
but I was entertained to watch it. So I'll put this at a 5 or 6, negative on the negative side.
Okay,
But yeah, it
yeah.
is interesting. But I feel like the behind the scenes stuff is maybe more interesting than the actual film itself.
Possibly. I mean, they're
Yeah.
both quite interesting. The film, basically, it might be that me knowing all the backstory has made me
Mm.
way more forgiving of all the elements than I would
Yeah.
be otherwise, which isn't good. That's not really a way to assess a
Yeah.
film. But it could be that. It could be that.
Mm.
Okay, cool. Right. Yeah. Would you recommend this to people or not?
I'd recommend at least one watch. Like
I
I
would
think,
recommend it too, but I would also recommend treat yourself and watch Island of Lost Souls from 1932 as well. That
okay,
is significantly better film. One of the great films, I'd say. Uh,
yeah,
Certainly the pre-code American cinema.
Mm.
It's really strong. You know, they had
Yeah.
to tone it down a few years after this, but this is in the same ballpark for me as Most Dangerous Game, King Kong,
Mm.
Frankenstein, Black Cat, that sort of thing, right? Old Dark House. It's in that kind of ballpark. Freaks. Island of Lost Souls is one of those great early 30s horror films. So it's a real
Okay.
treat. Maybe we'll do it sometime.
Yeah.
I wouldn't spoil it. I could spoil it off of this,
Yeah,
but
you could. You could bridge it off the
I'll have a.
character.
But
We've
the
done
thing
the
is,
character before.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have, but it might be difficult because the cast is there's Bella Lugosi and Charles Lawton is about it,
Okay.
right? So that's quite, and you know Bella Lugosi, but you don't know
Yeah.
Charles Lawton that well, I wouldn't
No.
imagine. But I'll have a think. I'll have a think. I might even pick it as my free watch. So
Yeah.
we do cover it. Anyway, let's wind it up there. So bye from me.
Bye.